They were whispered about in the dark corners of taverns, feared by senators, and desired by those who craved forbidden's power. Hidden rituals in torchlit chambers, sacred oaths sealed in blood. Worship not of the gods Rome celebrated, but of gods it outlawed, condemned, and sometimes tried to erase from memory. This is the story of the forbidden cults of ancient Rome, the secret religions that promise salvation, lust, immortality, or unearthly power, but carried with them danger, scandal, and death. And the truth is, Rome wasn't just the land of Caesar, gladiators, and legions. Beneath the marble temples and the roar of triumphal parades, a hidden spiritual battlefield raged. One where ordinary Romans risked everything: status, freedom, even life itself, for a chance to worship gods the state forbade. So tonight, let us descend into that world. A world of shadows, candles, and whispered prayers. A world where one misstep could mean crucifixion. These are the cults Rome didn't want you to know about. Our journey begins with the Bacchic cult, devoted to Bacchus, better known by his Greek name, Dionysus, the god of wine, ecstasy, and chaos. To the Romans, wine was life. It filled their cups in taverns, sealed deals among senators, and accompanied every feast. But in secret, Bacchus followers took wine beyond celebration. It became a key to transcendence. At first, Bacchic rite seemed harmless: late-night feasts, dancing under the moon, a little too much wine. But behind closed doors, it evolved into something Rome feared. Ancient historians tell us that the Bacchic initiations included wild orgies, ecstatic frenzies, and rituals so secretive that members were sworn never to reveal what happened. Men and women, slaves and nobles, gathered together in forbidden's unity. The lines of class, power, and morality blurred, and Rome panicked. In 186 BCE, word spread that the Bacchic cult was growing thousands strong. Senators whispered that political conspiracies were being plotted under the cover of drunken rituals. That orgies had turned to murders, that citizens were being seduced, corrupted, and enslaved to a god of madness. The Senate reacted with fury. A decree was passed. Bacchic rites were outlawed. Temples to Bacchus were torn down. Priests were executed. Followers were imprisoned, exiled, or worse, publicly humiliated and killed. The Bacchic scandal was the first great religious purge in Roman history. But it set the tone. Rome would tolerate many gods, but never ones that threatened its order. Still, Bacchus' spirit never died. His cult slipped underground, whispered in poetry, hidden in private villas, celebrated in shadows. Because no law could erase the hunger for ecstasy, for freedom, for the god of wine. Next, we travel from Italy to Egypt, where another cult was quietly making its way into Roman hearts, the cult of Isis. Isis was the mother goddess of Egypt, the patron of love, healing, and magic. Unlike Rome's stern gods of war and law, Isis promised compassion. Her worship was intimate, emotional, personal. For Romans weary of war and politics, Isis offered something different: salvation, healing, and the hope of eternal life. But her cult carried Egyptian roots, and Rome never fully trusted foreign gods. Senators feared that Isis temples filled with incense, music, and the chanting of priests in foreign dress were corrupting Roman virtue. In 53 BCE, the Senate ordered her shrines destroyed. Statues of Isis were dragged out of temples and thrown into the Tiber. But here's the twist: her popularity only grew stronger. Why? Because Isis spoke to the common people, to women, slaves, and outsiders. She offered hope where Rome offered none. By the time of Emperor Caligula, Isis' cult had spread so widely that even emperors couldn't resist. Caligula built a temple to her in Rome itself. Later, Domitian and Hadrian worshipped her. And when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 CE, burying Pompeii in ash, archaeologists would later uncover her temple there, still standing, her cult preserved in stone. What Rome once feared as foreign corruption became one of its most enduring faiths. In fact, Isis' cult became so powerful that early Christians would later draw upon her imagery, the Divine Mother holding her child, to help spread their own faith. Now, let us descend into the underground. Literally, the Cult of Mithras was unlike anything Rome had seen. Its temples were not grand public spaces, but hidden chambers, carved beneath the earth. Known as Mithraea, they were secret sanctuaries lit only by torches, with paintings of stars on the ceilings, as if one were worshipping under the cosmos itself. At the center of Mithraic worship was a mysterious image: Mithras, the god of light. slaying a great bull. The act was cosmic, a battle of life and death, darkness and light. But who was allowed inside? Not everyone. The cult of Mithras was exclusive mainly soldiers, officials, and men of power. It was a brotherhood bound by oaths, a society where rank and initiation mattered more than birth. Rituals involved secret initiations, meals of bread and wine, and staged symbolic deaths and rebirths. Members advanced through 7 levels of initiation, each tied to a planet, as if climbing the ladder of the cosmos itself. The secrecy was absolute. Outsiders were forbidden to know the mysteries. Even today, historians argue over what exactly happened inside those dark chambers. But here's what we do know. The cult spread like wildfire through the Roman legions. Soldiers carried it from Britain to Syria, building Mithria wherever they went. To them, Mithras was a god of loyalty, strength, and eternal brotherhood. By the 3rd century CE, Mithras was one of Christianity's greatest rivals. Bread and wine, salvation, a divine sun bringing light to the world, the parallels were striking. But while Christianity preached openly, Mithras remained in the shadows. When Constantine embraced Christianity, Mithras faded. His temples were abandoned, sealed beneath the earth. But to this day, archaeologists still uncover Mithria, frozen in time, the echoes of torchlight flickering on stone walls where Rome's soldiers once whispered oaths in secret. Of all Rome's forbidden cults, few shocked the Romans more than the worship of Cybele, the Great Mother from the East. Cybele's worship was wild, primal, and terrifying. Her priests, known as Galli, performed shocking rituals. During initiations, some would castrate themselves in frenzy, dedicating their bodies entirely to the goddess. Festivals in her honor involved music, drumming, dancing, and ecstatic frenzies. Citizens paraded statues of the goddess through the streets, showering her in offerings. For conservative Romans, this was madness. Masculinity, discipline, order, all of Rome's values seemed inverted in Cybele's cult. Her worship blurred gender, shattered control, and unleashed chaos. And yet, Rome could not fully resist her. During a crisis in the Second Punic War, Rome's leaders turned to prophecy, and the oracles declared, "Bring the Great Mother to Rome." So they did. Cybele's cult became official, yet always controversial, tolerated, feared, and never fully embraced. For many Romans, she was too wild, too dangerous, too foreign, and yet she remained. No story of Rome's forbidden cults would be complete without mentioning the faith that began as one of the most persecuted and ended as Rome's greatest religion, Christianity. To Rome, early Christians were dangerous not because of blood rituals or orgies, but because of their defiance. They refused to worship the emperor. They rejected Rome's gods. They swore allegiance only to one, Christ. That defiance made them enemies of the state. Christians were accused of atheism, cannibalism, and treason. Emperors like Nero crucified them, burned them alive, and threw them to beasts in the arena. And yet, like every forbidden cult before them, persecution only made Christianity stronger. By the 4th century CE, it had grown so powerful that Emperor Constantine himself converted. The faith of slaves, women, and outcasts became the faith of emperors and generals. What had once been whispered in catacombs became the official religion of the empire. Rome, which had tried to crush Christianity, became its greatest vehicle. The story of Rome's forbidden cults is the story of a society wrestling with faith, power, and fear. Some cults were crushed, their temples burned, others were absorbed, their gods renamed. And some, like Christianity, reshaped the empire itself. But one truth remains: behind Rome's marble facades, its senators and Caesars, its triumphs and conquests, there was always another Rome, a Rome of shadows, candles, whispers, and forbidden prayers. And if you walk the streets of Rome today, beneath the ruins, you can still find them. Hidden Mithria, temples to Isis, frescoes of Bacchus. Silent witnesses to a truth the empire could never fully erase: that faith is dangerous. And that secrets, once whispered, never truly die. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of ancient Rome, make sure to subscribe for more forgotten stories, hidden mysteries, and untold dramas of history. Leave a comment which of these forbidden cults shocked you the most. Until next time, remember, history is never just about what's written in stone. It's also about what was meant to be hidden.